Record button, yeah. All right. So welcome everyone to the Double S Club, formerly Sassy and Savage. For those who know us from that, welcome back. For those who are new, welcome. So we're going to start the show. Here we have your main boy, Mr. Rohan, aka Mr. Remarkable. We got Andrew, Lord 905. Say what's up.
You know what it is.
And we got Lexi Samuels in the building.
Hello.
All right. And we also got a guest joining us today. It's Chris Thomas. Yeah, man. So local recording artist here to kind of just show us what's good. But for those of you who know, then I don't need to say anything. But for those who don't know, you know, he's bringing us some good rhythms in regards to his latest album, Codename Chris. Definitely recently dropped. How recently, Chris?
It's like 6 months ago or something like that now, just before the pandemic. It was just terrible timing. Like,
yeah,
had the whole tour planned and everything, right?
Hey, Chris, at least you weren't like sleeping in the middle of New York on the streets this time, like trying to get home just because you were bored. Like, at least you weren't just fucking bored in the middle of pandemic getting trapped in the city somewhere.
Yeah, for real.
I feel like there's a story there. There's something you guys...
There's lots of them.
There's lots and lots of stories. Trust me, we will get into that as this show goes on.
I was wondering, like, what inspired you to do the Codename Chris album? It was pretty, what caught me was the Scientology of it, like the scientific look of it and the futuristic thing. That kind of caught me with that. And the name too as well. That's pretty catchy.
Yeah, well, I made the song Codename Chris, and I was like, you know what? Like, it's kind of a cool name. So I just kind of thought of the concept. I got my artist Remy to whip up the drawings for me, and it just kind of came together, to tell you the truth. Like, I thought it looked pretty cool too.
You see, like, your style of music, like, where do you think, like, where that influence came from?
I don't know. I grew up listening to a lot of rock and stuff. Small town kind of shit, right? Then got into like underground, the boom bap and fucking like battle rap and things like that when I was in my teenage years and that. So I guess that's most of the influence.
I noticed that, like, with your flow and like your style, like you have a specific way that you actually put out your music. Like, how would you describe like your type of music? Because it seems like something that's a little bit different. Like, it's like a rap mixed with some like a different type of feel. Like, how would you describe it for yourself? Like, how would you describe the way that you create?
Asking some hard questions. I don't know, man. It's just music, right? So if I hear a beat that I'm feeling, I just like to jump on it or whatever. Like, I like to try different things, sort of.
Hey. Don't let him fool you. Like, I know a little bit more, but this man's a little bit more creative than that, and he likes to let you lead his mind. From what I can tell from the process, I've recorded a record with him, and I can tell that the process is he just gets into a zone, man. Like, some artists, they have their mind fixated on what they want to say, and it takes them too long. That is not Chris. Chris is the type of person, if he's literally in the right vibe or he has the right like sentiment, trust me, he's just gonna let you know. It don't take him long.
That's what it is, man. That's most of the songs I write. It's like half an hour at the most to write it. Like, I got my studio here, so I got lots of time to experiment with shit too, right? So I got like 200 unreleased tracks that are just like, you know what? That's not that good, but I can do something better tomorrow, you know? So it's whatever.
Who do you see yourself like collaborating with? Because I could see you collaborating with multiple different types of people, especially I'll give you one that I like actually could hear you with is Flatbush Zombies. I don't know if you know them, but they're associated with ASAP Rocky and the ASAP crew. Like, I could hear you doing tracks with them for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big fan of those boys too, so I'd be down with that any day. Like the Jared Bettons and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's kind of my flex, you know. Like, I just like that kind of grimy, insulting shit. Like, I'm just doing it for fun, you know what I mean? So I piss a couple people off. That's all in a day's work.
So where do you get mostly inspired, Chris?
Pardon?
Like, where do you get mostly inspired? Like, is it in your home studio? Is it on drive? Is it like, you know, out camping or whatever? Like, where do you feel you get it?
I do a lot of pretty much everything, man. I like to go on adventures, like just random shit, you know, downtown life and up north life. And I've toured like all over Europe and that too. So I just like to get out there and see the world, right? And that's the whole world's an inspiration like that, you know?
Hey, Chris, speaking to the freedom of being out there, I just want to actually celebrate you in a small way. You've been sober now for how long, my friend?
Close to a year now. And I'm like, I'll calm you down there. I'm not like 100% sober. It's like I'll have a beer or two on like a weekend.
No. From what we know each other as?
Yeah, oh, that's yeah.
It should be celebrated. It should be celebrated that you're a clear, like you seem like, because mental health on the show is a big deal. For us, like we celebrate and we all the time trying to like, you know, push towards mental health. And I wanted to talk about like the freedom it is for you to try and write music now that you're not like seeking the dark places in your life. Like, how is it that you've been able to find that inspiration now?
That's actually, it took a while to get over. I don't need to be drunk or I don't need to be on drugs to write a record, you know, like that was basically all I would do was get fucked up in the studio and like come up with some bullshit to say. And when you're sober and trying to do that and trying to get into like, what do I have to say? You really got to start finding yourself more, I think. It was definitely a hurdle I had to overcome. Like I basically had to learn from scratch how to rap again, you know?
Well, it's good that you were able to kind of rediscover yourself by, you know, getting in tune with yourself and opposed to using the music, because we hear that a lot in regards to the industry. Artists use substances to justify their creativity or encourage it or whatnot. And albeit there's some merit because, you know, every now and again, somebody needs to relax. There's some stress that goes in your life and whatnot. But like at the end of the day, it's you. It's kind of like the saying, like they say that the notion of like liquid courage or like when you're under inebriation, it's kind of just an extension of who you are. Not in a bad way, but it kind of liberates that notion. So if you're able to channel in naturally, then it shows the sign of a true artist, in my opinion, anyways. Right?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it's good. Definitely good to hear that aspect from another, you know, creative individual in the industry, especially a local person, that they can say, hey, you know what, I can go beyond and like kind of transcend it.
That's it, man. It's definitely a struggle. I know a lot of people deal with too. So if anyone can do it, or if I can do it, anyone can do it, man. Because I was a fucking mess for a lot of years there, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to look in the mirror and say, you know what, you're a fucking mess. Like you need to clean yourself up.
Yeah.
So anyone that, you know, needs some help or whatever, just reach out to friends. Like I know everyone's got a friend that's willing to help, right? So
yeah, that's the truth, man. The hardest thing for a lot of people is to call their own bullshit.
yeah.
So, no, but trust me, once you call that out and you release everything, you start to feel lighter and free.
Sure.
So are you like working on it? We kind of touched base in the pandemic and you're like, yeah, you know what, we got time. Like, is there any potential that you're like, as soon as, you know, things ease up or Dougie Ford gets his senses together and we can kind of go out, you'll be able to drop something soon? Or is it like...
yeah, I mean, like I've been dropping singles here and there through the pandemic, just to keep it mixed up, right? But as far as like getting out there, yeah, the second I'm able to, I'd love to go out, hit a couple shows up. Like I was supposed to do one in Kingston a couple weeks ago, like literally the weekend that they locked back down again. I'm like, are you kidding me? So
you already know.
It's crazy, man. Like I'm used to touring, man. Like, and that's where you artists nowadays, that's where you make all your money off, like selling merch and all that shit, right? So like it hurts
touring life
right now.
Well, here's the thing. Speaking to touring life, especially since you and I have, you know, hit the road and been on many a damn show and been in many a strange place. Can you tell me about the feeling that is going to go towards, like, is there fear to go back on the road knowing all of these things exist? Or it's just like, fuck it, let's put the gears together and get it going because we've been in lockdown too long?
Nah, man, you know what? Like, I'm not really scared of the virus per se. I know it's there. I've lost a couple family members, to be honest, but like, you got to live your life either way. Like I will get vaccinated just because I'm sure going to Europe and that there's going to be some bullshit rules that you have to be anyway. So that'll negate some of the fear too, I guess. As long as I don't die from the fucking vaccine. But,
Chris is there just like, as long as me don't get no blood clot from the same thing, I'm gonna be fine.
I mean, here's a whole other way of looking at it, Chris. I mean, for us as performers, and the one thing that we love to do is being new places, being on the road, is talking to people, that interaction, that like one-on-one that we get with a new fan. How has it been for you not being able to take advantage of those experiences? Like for me, it's like going through a draw. Like I haven't been on tour in so long now. I haven't hit a date in so long now. I get twitchy whenever like I see live performances and shit. Like how has it been for you?
It's been about the same, man. What can I say? Like, you know, it's just something you love to do and you can't do it anymore. It's like, why? It sucks, man. Really does. Like, I'm glad like now all these technologies like Zoom and stuff, like at least you can interact a bit more, like Facebook chat and all that's out there now. So like it's not so bad. You can still interact with fans, but it's just not the same as being up on a stage, right? Being in the crowd, interacting with fans, like at a merch table, selling shit to them. Like it's definitely, it's not the same, man.
Are you feeling that?
One thing I was shocked to like even find out about though was like the fact that you opened up for Tony Yayo. Like I actually thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, but like how does it, like how did that even feel? Because honestly, that's pretty wild.
No, it was actually like, it was a few years after they were like really big. So it was, when I was going through customs actually was the funniest thing. The guy at the Newark airport, because the show was down in Philly. So I met my boys at Newark and just took a rental down. But the customs guy's like, so why are you coming to the country? I'm like, oh, I'm just going to a Tony Yayo show in Philly. He's like, Tony Yayo, that guy still raps.
Oh shit!
Oh man, no, Chris, speaking to that experience, because me and you have done so many shows across Canada and outside of the country, trying to like make our dream come true. What is it like to actually open up for the guys that we used to pass with, but are no longer at the the upper echelon anymore? Because here's what I look at it as: it's like for us, a lot of people see it as we're using them as stepping stones in a way, because like they're on the undercard. But at the same time, it's like a guy like us, if we get the chance to like use their audience to make them our audience, like how is that feeling now? Like being able to like have a performance in front of like your hero, and then at the same time take some of his fans with you.
Yeah, that's always a good feeling, man. Like especially like I'll speak on this. I was in Amsterdam, or I guess Rotterdam, for the New School Rules Conference a few years back, and J. Root Damager was there. He was performing, and I got to jump on the set or onto the stage last minute. Kind of thing. So I end up chopping it up with J. Rue all night. Like we're out for drinks, picking up bitches downtown and that. And like that's, you know, like that's
I know those wild ones, bro.
You know what I mean? Like I grew up with this guy, listening to this guy's rap, and now I'm just out rolling down the street with him. You know what I mean? So like that shit's cool, man. But a lot of the times, like you don't even really get to meet the artists, whatever. You're just an opener, and they're stuck backstage somewhere. So a lot of the times, it's not as cool as everyone would think it would be. But it's a lot of fun.
I think Tech is the only guy who broke that stereotype. Because when we opened for Tech 9, like nobody knew what the hell was gonna happen, and like as soon as him and all the boys came out, like and we did our thing, like they stuck around to watch everybody. So that completely like changed the complete dynamic. Like working with some artists like that, I guess what I'm trying to say is you never want to meet your heroes and then have them be a shitty reflection of what you thought they were gonna be, 100%. And then to meet a guy who's actually dope.
Yeah, that's always dope. And I've heard that about Tech 9 too, though. He's really engaged with fans for one, but also with other artists and indie artists. Like he's got his own label, so he's constantly looking for talent too, right? So that makes sense about Tech 9, I guess.
Yeah, it depends on what their objective is, right? Because some artists will sit here and say, I know I'm a brand, I know I'm a business, they need to keep it going, otherwise they lose their bread and butter. But there are those people like Tech 9 and various other artists that will slow down enough to either reward their fans and, you know, up and coming artists for their efforts, or just, you know, who knows, they might find the next person, right? Like everybody wants to pick up their like predecessor or somebody else that can help fluff their label. So why not? But
True.
I guess it's one of those things, like, especially being artists like you and Andrew, respectively, always encouraging other artists to be, I guess, vigilant in a sense. Like, any opportunity is an opportunity with an artist, and like, you know, a lot of people get starstruck when they meet their idols, and then they don't get a chance to really perform. Like, that could have been your opportunity to blow up, and you're too busy being like, you know, I got to meet him, I got a signature. It's just like, yeah, but you guys are, for a second, you're equals. So, you know, take the opportunity to be like, hey, I'm gonna show you what I got, right? Like Eminem said, you only get one chance, right?
Yeah, man, cliche as that is, but yeah, it's true stuff.
Well, what's going on with like COVID though? Do you feel like you're ever going to like perform abroad even, or just locally soon enough?
I mean, I'm hopeful the vaccines are rolling out. Hopefully there's some sort of immunity built up, whatever the fuck the vaccine does. But like, yeah, I'm optimistic about it. Like, we're gonna get back to normal eventually, I hope. I'm sure it seems like it's never gonna happen to a lot of people right now, but we just gotta get through it, man. The humans have gone through worse, so we'll get through this one.
Ain't that the truth? So my question is to you, Chris Thomas, since I know you and you know me, I want you to tell us the best tour-related story that happened to you before the pandemic.
That's
because I know you. These are a million of them. I just want you to boil it down to like, give me a good one.
Shit, man. Putting me on the spot, bro. There's so many good ones. Most of them are in Europe, man. Just like random show up at a conference or something in Europe, just get pulled on stage, rocking sets and just partying, man. Like, you'd have to look at the pictures on my social media to really get
Oh, I know. All right, I'll ask you a better one then. What happened to you in New York? Why did you end up sleeping on the side of the road for a couple of hours or a night or two, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, well, because I went down, my boy Minty Barnes was doing a show down in New York.
Shout out Minty.
Yeah, shout out Minty Barnes. So yeah, I went down there with my boy. We took the bus down. My boy gets hung up at the border and shit, but I guess he managed to talk his way through, luckily. So we're drinking all day downtown, just walking up and down New York in Manhattan. By the time the show comes around, I'm just totally shit-faced. I'm breaking beer bottles all over this club and shit. Like, yo, my boy just got fed right up with me though and kicked me out of the hotel room. So like, I was only there one more night anyway, so I just figured fuck it, and I slept on like the fire escape stairs outside the hotel.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I ended up the next day I catch the bus up to the airport, hop on the plane, and fucking showed up at work on Monday wearing the same clothes, just dirty and hungover.
That's exactly why I wanted you to explain that, because I saw the whole timeline of you from the sleeping to being at work the next morning, and I just wanted to know how the hell that all came together. Were you promoting Shit Show at that point?
Yeah, that would have probably been around Shit Show times. It's got to have been back on when we did that track. Yeah.
Yeah, so I understand the vibe that you were on, like the whole entire, because you, from what I can understand, you score your records to the theme of your life.
Yeah, pretty much, man. I'm writing about what I'm dealing with, right? So it's kind of a personal just release to me, right? So
what about this new album that gives you more dimensionality from Shit Show? Like, if you were to make the comparison from Shit Show to Cheat Code, what would be the actual true change of Chris? Like, what was the evolution?
I'd say just more grown-up rap, man. Like, it's not so much a just belligerent party album like Shit Show and Scatterbrain were. Even Scatterbrain was a little more elevated, a little more, you have to think.
Yeah, it's a lot more thought in that one, yeah.
Yeah. But Codename Chris was more about getting back to roots though and having fun with it. But at the same time, I have a lot more of a message to it, a lot more of a story to the whole flow of the album. It's just me progressing as a person, me progressing as an artist, man. Same thing, like all the new singles I'm dropping, you can kind of see that I'm getting sober and that I'm working, like leveling up kind of thing, right?
Towards mental health, yeah. Well, that's why I asked about it, because I can see the growth that you have in your spirit, and I see that it's actually a better place for you right now. Because
100%, man.
like talk to me about like being in dark times and like finding your way out, especially towards others right now that are going through the same thing. They don't have a way out at the point because all they see is this pandemic. They only see we're going to be stuck in this forever. They don't see that there's some sort of like, you know, ending to all of this. So speak to me on how from your dark times, and is there a message that you have for people who are going through their dark times in this moment that you have for them?
Man, honestly, it's everyone's different. Like for me, I got a lot of anxieties and social problems, and that's why I used to drink, just to get myself out there and be social. Like even just doing this meeting sober for me is pretty difficult, but it's, you just really have to want it, man. You have to try. You have to just know that things can get better if you want them to. You need to get yourself into that mode. And it's really hard to do that a lot of the time, especially with what's going on in the world when all you see is bad news everywhere. Like that can weigh a lot on people. I think what did it, like I lost probably close to 20 friends to overdoses and suicides in the past like 5 years. So that started to really weigh heavily on my mind and my conscience, right? Like I'm doing the same thing these guys are doing. Like, you know what I mean?
So basically that was like your last straw with it. That's what made you just turn things around and say, you know what? The sobriety journey.
Yeah, that pretty much, man. Like you can only lose so many friends, only go to so many funerals before something's got to give, right? So, as bad as that is, I guess some positive can come out of that. So,
hey, man, the hardest lessons in life are learned through loss.
That's it, man.
Yeah. So when you started your sobriety journey, was it like something where like it was challenging for you to like continue that, or was it like it was easy for you to just be like, no, I'm stopping like drinking, smoking, etc.? Like it was just cold turkey.
I think the pandemic actually really helped that because I didn't have the option.
It's kind of hard to get fucked up when you can't see a dealer.
You know, and like, no, that's no problem. I can get things anytime.
Okay.
Like it was easier just because I'm not going out. I don't have the social cues that I would normally have, like being out in public all the time, like just at a bar or at a show, just wanting to drink, which leads to wanting drugs, which leads to stupid decisions, etc. Right?
And depression too, because it makes you start overthinking.
Yeah, oh, big time. Being hungover for 3 days will depress the fuck out of anybody. But yeah, no, it was a struggle for sure. But like once you realize how much better you feel and all that, it starts to get easier. Yeah, so I'm happy where I'm at right now. Like I said, I still have a couple of drinks here and there when I'm with buddies or something. But like that's as far as I'm taking it now. I'm not sitting at home getting fucked up doing blow all night, you know. Like
it's amazing how this situation has like encouraged people to change their behaviors a little bit. I think it's because of the fact that you're more aware of like your personal impact. You're not as distracted with like work and this social obligation and that to kind of be like, yeah, you know what? It's Saturday. I worked hard this week. You know, it's Wednesday. It's tough. So I could definitely hear how the change of our global environment has encouraged you to kind of do that kind of stuff. So that's great. You know, there's a lot of people who are sitting right now and not in a position or willing to make a positive opportunity out of this current thing, right? But it's definitely good to hear that as an artist, someone who's been in the business, been exposed to that kind of stuff, can kind of realize that, you know, there's more going around besides just, you know, the fast foods and the drinking and all that sort of stuff. It's just going to be interesting on how, I guess, the industry is going to change when everything goes back, because people's behaviors are probably going to be reflective of where we're at right now, right?
It'll never go back to what it was, that's for sure. Like even the venues alone, like 90% of them are closed down now. So like
it's like, how do we
it'll take like years just to build that presence of having venues and having places to do this shit, right?
So have you or any of like your fellow artists come up with like creative ways to still hone your craft during the pandemic? Like,
I mean, so I signed with the label Breaking Records recently, and they're doing contests like every couple of months for provide some beats and let just everybody rap to them to win a prize, right? So it's a good way to engage with fans, at least, just to get a bigger
Shout out to Crossbow.
What? Crossbow.
Shout out to Crossbow Look.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not really into the whole social media thing, to be honest. Like, it's kind of intrusive to me. Like, I come from a simpler time, you know what I mean?
Well, speak to me about since we're in this weird situation and we're all talking about it now. Like, we just had Doug Ford give us a bunch of new rules and talking about, like, to me it sounds like stop and frisk. You also, like, speaking of not being in engagement on social media, but you wrote on my post that it sounds like a lot of like stop and frisk, and the same thing that I was saying, like impugning on people's rights. How do you think this is going to affect the urban community moving forward?
Well, I think if the police hadn't made a stand like they did today, a lot of police unions and that said, no, we're not enforcing that.
Yeah.
Which I actually kind of rate that, but I mean, do your job anyway. I think it would definitely hit the marginalized communities a lot harder, just because that's kind of the way they always have been, right? If you allow them, give them more leash, they're going to take the leash, right? It's shitty to say that that's how the world is, and like, we need to definitely come to change, man. Like, I don't even know what to say there.
No, that's why I asked, because like I look at it in a situation like a guy like you who has an audience was willing, and you said you don't engage on social media, but you have a voice in a way where any issue that's ever been presented in front of you, you've always presented it in a logical front. Like, I can't seem to understand why others don't have your clarity.
Yeah, I don't get it either, man. Like, it's just common sense shit. Be good to each other. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why I asked, right? Because like for me, like your point of view is not complicated. It's the easiest way to actually look at a lot of this stuff. Like, let's treat people right. Let's get this stuff done and let's move forward.
Yeah, that's, you know, like logic, man. Fuck. It's a great thing.
Yeah, as much as it's logical, you have a lot of people who don't think for themselves, right? They want to be accepted, and sometimes being accepted is someone else has to be, you know, impacted or compromised. So, you know, fortunately, a lot of these situations are like, hey, if I can be on the team that gets the easy win, right? Like, honestly, if like we all, like, in our respective crafts, we're able to be like, we're going to get signed or drafted by the winning team, and we just get to sit on the bench and get a ring. There's a lot of people who will sit there and be like, all right, cool, sign me up, right? So
no, I am so against team. No, you know me. I am so against team easy win, because, bruh, I can't stand that shit. Like, Chris and I know this. We're the type of people who don't perform with backtracks. You want to know how much of team not easy win we are? There's the easiest way to perform is to play your music in the background and maybe rap over.
Maybe rap over.
You know what I mean? Like, Chris and I know what we mean by maybe rap over it, because a lot of these guys can't perform at the speed that they perform inside the studio. So they don't have the same energy.
They don't even understand their own lyrics half the time, probably.
Bro, like, it's terrible. So for guys like us, we're literally, we go up on stage, it's just the mic, it's just the beat, and we may have a hype guy in the background. Maybe.
Yeah, half the time that's just my boy that doesn't even know the song.
Anyway, yeah, he's just saying, yeah, in the background, just to give you some energy, right? It's like we are against Team Easy Win over here. Like, trust me, there's a lot of people who want participation medals. That's not me and him. I can tell you that from experience.
You gotta do something to do it right, you know?
Well, that's definitely a good way to. So, I don't know. Since you're an artist, and I guess I want to ask both of you guys questions in regards to, you other guys ever catch yourself like dropping bars in like the shower and shit? Like,
I come up with so much
cool.
shit.
Bro, like every second of the day.
Oh man, I could just imagine.
There was a time when Andrew was just going off, said a whole song in like a matter of minutes.
There's a time.
It was actually pretty crazy. Yeah, there's time he was in the studio and he was just
Every
like,
time. It's every time with
he
Andrew.
just said, it was the time when we had the first podcast and he literally said a whole song in about 5 minutes. It was crazy.
That's about right.
No, but it comes down to the freedom of your mind. Like, I can tell Chris can speak to this. There's this little level that each time you're an artist. Like, in the beginning, you start out, you're just trying to figure out what the fuck you're trying to say, or you're trying to mimic what your favorite artist sounds like. Then there's a second level where you get to where you start to understand what you want to say, but you don't have the voice to say it yet. And then there's this third level where I call it the unlock the cheat code level. It's after you've done all that work, you've done all that grind, you've pretty much said all the BS you want to say, and you come to this empty spot in your mind. You almost get writer's block in a way where you don't know what you want to say. And that's the time you start being yourself as an artist. You start talking from real experiences because you got to dive into that pain you dealt with, the stuff that you don't want to talk about. You start talking about it. It's like that last level of, like, I compare it to a video game. It's like that boss level.
I agree with that, man. That speaks back to what I was saying before, where like when I was getting sober, I had to relearn everything, refine my voice. But it wasn't so much refine my voice as like I kind of had my voice, but I had to find out what I wanted to say next, kind of thing, you know. Yeah, it's all a building process, and you know that as much as anybody else.
In the sense, you're finding yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
Your
That's
true,
why-
authentic self. Yeah, that's a part of you. Basically, had a spiritual awakening. As much as you say a sobriety journey, it is one, but it was also a spiritual journey. It was a spiritual awakening. So it's like
Hey,
you finally
just want to let you. Sorry. No, continue.
Oh, go
Lexi,
ahead.
sorry.
No, it's okay. You
No.
can say it.
No.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say some dumb shit. Like, just so Chris knows, Lexi's our like mystic / like spiritual guru on the show. If you want to get your moral center right,
No,
she'll
it's
get
only
you there.
it's only because I really do understand him on a certain level, because I went through the same journey. Like, I literally went cold turkey. I literally just stopped smoking weed. I also did what's it called? I stayed away from sex as well too, and it was a spiritual thing. I was trying to find myself again and be one with myself, because you have soul ties. When you get involved with people, that's soul ties. You need to stay away from it for a period of time to even cleanse yourself. So I did a lot of that. When you stop doing something for over a year or so, it's cleansing from your body, from your soul, and it's creating a spiritual awakening. So he had one. I went through the same thing. So that's why I totally understand where you come from, Chris.
Totally appreciate that.
That's the truth.
So, Chris, if you had an opportunity to perform with a particular artist, who would that be?
I don't want to offend one.
Okay, so let me make it a little bit easier for you. Let me make it a little bit easier. If you were able to coordinate a show right now, like, who would you be like, yo, I'm going on tour with these people? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the same genre. Like, it could be like Elton John, Avril Lavigne, that kind of stuff. Like, whoever, like, you would be like, this would be the best show, you know, both for your personal
top 5. I like that.
Who could you see yourself performing with or collaborating with?
I'd love to get down with like Schoolboy Q or something like that.
I could see that. I could see that. I could see that.
That whole TDE camp, you know what I mean?
That whole TDE family, bro. Yeah, I see that.
Like, I fucks with
I
that.
could see that.
Me, honestly, my list would be pretty damn easy. Like, number 1 on the list, you already know, Chris, the idol performer, Busta Rhymes. I need that, like, in my life. I just need that in my life.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Like, you already know, bro. You already know. My spastic ass energy, his spastic ass energy, that'd be one freaking show for the record books.
That'd be wild.
So now you're signed with Breaking Records. Like, how is it working with them?
It's all right. Like, we've been collaborating on stuff for years already, so it was kind of a natural fit. Like, we're already homies. We already do business, so it just seemed like the right move. Like, Maloney's been putting in that work from time. like build millions of followers and that. So it's more of a good look on him putting me on it than anything. But it's definitely a back and forth. Like I bring some skills to the table too. So yeah, hopefully you're on to bigger and better things, right?
And what about working with Jack Hellington, the guy that you did he did a feature for a song with you with No Place Like Home, I believe.
Yeah.
I think that's one of your new tracks.
Yeah, that's the newest track I just dropped. Yeah, he's good. I've been kind of wanting to work with him for a while now, and I just never really connected with him. We never met up or anything, and he just happened to be on the label of Breaking Records too, so it was kind of the perfect opportunity to get that cracking. And I think the song came out really well.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of depressing vibe about him.
Are you planning on like doing a music video for it with him in the near future?
I don't know about a music video with the COVID regulations. It's hard to get those things organized right now. Maybe like a lyric video or something, but we'll definitely drop some more content related to it. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen.
Right.
So a lot of artists, they undervalue their tracks now. Like an artist will drop a track and like that's it. Like there's the track, but it's like, well, what else do you do with that track? Like you got to get people engaged nowadays, right? So
you see how you say like, oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
No. Continue. No.
No, I was just gonna say, you see how like you say you don't really want to use like the internet or like social media as much. Like, don't you feel like the internet is like impacting the music industry though overall? So it's like it's kind of forcing you to tap into that. Do you feel like you are eager to at least tap into it a bit more because of what you're doing with music and how nowadays everyone's just stuck inside?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I really use social media is for music, just because you have to nowadays. Like, it's not back in 1999 where you could hustle a trunk full of CDs. Like, that's just something, It's definitely changed every aspect of the music industry. I'm not sure if it's for the better or for the worse, but it's just something we got to deal with, I guess.
It is like a download hustle.
Huh?
It's become the download hustle now. Like everybody now, if you watch anybody in anybody's chat room or anybody else's core room, you'll see people randomly popping up talking about, yeah, download or check my newest single out, or da-da-da-da-da. Like the marketing itself in the industry has completely changed because now it's a one-off thing. Before, you used to be able to engage and press with your fans, release a single, go through the aspects of trying to cut a video, then move on to the next step. Now, because of this recycled nature of singles, we pretty much get so fast and move so quick with this music, you have no time to grow with the single.
But since we know how it was before, how do you guys feel with how it's adjusting now? Where like, do you guys feel like you guys are adapting, or is it kind of like hard to adapt to the new way?
I think we got a bit of a disadvantage to the kids coming up now where this is their technology, right? But I'm learning as I go. I'm figuring it out. Like I got pretty good numbers in that on my Spotify. So like, I guess it's all right. It's cool to interact with fans. Like we didn't really have that fan interaction to the level we have now.
Yeah.
So like when you were out at a show or something, but now it's like every day you can actually talk and socialize and like have people hitting you up in a messenger saying like, yo, I really like your music and stuff like that. That's really cool.
I think it's come down to one-on-ones now. Like how much fan interaction do you have where before you might have seen, I don't know, 100 people at a show, maybe 20 of them have the balls enough to walk up to you and actually like engage with you. Whereas now, if that fan really likes the music, they're reaching out to you instantly. So like, I think that's the one benefit now of today's culture and everybody being inside is that the fan engagement is instantaneous, whereas before it took a while to build.
Yeah.
Can you speak on that?
I agree with that. There's a boundary thing too, though. Some fans or some people in general have no boundaries when it comes to social media. So like, they'll just be hitting you up constantly and like, hey, why aren't you talking back and stuff like that. I appreciate the love, but I'm busy here. Like I got shit to do. I can't be talking every day to everybody, but it's just a whole different dynamic, man.
Yeah, it's one of the things, right? Unfortunately, as time progresses, the game always adapts, and like I guess one of the things that artists need to, well, not need to, but can benefit from is being able to manage their fans. I'm seeing a lot of artists try to curate times and windows where they're going to be available to their fans, so they can kind of be like, yeah, you know what, I just dropped a single or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to chat about it Friday night at 8 o'clock. So it's just like, it's kind of like you can at least put that wall up saying, oh, you missed the window, you'll have to wait until next week to get it or whatever, and you kind of control the fans. So you're both right, you and Andrew, respectively, in regards to that the game has changed from the trunk hustle and being able to be like, your work is a direct measurement of your success, versus now with the hyper access and the hyper, saturation of music, you kind of have to be able to come with a little bit more substance, because people absorb your music real quick, right? But
Chris, wouldn't you say that the barometer has changed as well now? You can't tell if something's good or not, because like for us, or at least for myself, it used to be when you make a song, you jump on stage and then you'll be able to gauge if that song's going to be able to go somewhere, because like the immediate response from it was at least, let you know if you should keep working on it, if you need to change something. But now there's no barometer. Like you put out a single and it doesn't do well, you don't even know if the song was decent.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the DJ flex back in the day. You go hand the DJ your fucking tape, and look at the reaction in the crowd, what they're doing, if they're dancing, if they're whatever, You're right, you can't really do that anymore. The only thing, any metric anyone's relying on now is just numbers. What are your numbers? What are your numbers? Like, and I mean, that's to an extent okay. Like, you got to make money here, but
I think it's a catch.
Yeah,
sorry.
I know what you're just about to say was fucking bang on. Yeah,
it's a catch-22, because like you can get direct feedback back in the day based off of crowd activity, and you can be like, all right, they like this genre, you can keep consistent. But now I feel like you could be a little bit more creative, because you can be like, hey, let me try this new type of beat, I like that like funky industrial sound, and then it's just like, oh wait, the numbers aren't right, all right, cool, scratch it. Before you get in too deep, you can kind of switch up and kind of keep it going. I think the biggest problem, go ahead.
I was going to say, that goes the same with like, everyone's got a home studio now. So there's a lot more freedom to just like do crazy shit, right?
And that's where I was about to go. Unfortunately, there's a lot of home brews that are kind of, inflating it and making it seem. So like, like as much as I'm not an artist yourself, I get that from the creative standpoint, like photography and videography. Like, I get that feedback from certain people when they're like, yo, like that, I can always recognize your artwork based off of how you do something. That's my signature. But then, when it comes to the day-to-day, a lot of people are like, well, I can get a photographer anywhere, like I hired this person. And it's just like, yeah, okay. And then you'll call me for post-production because there's a lighting issue or a grading issue, or they took a photo and there's a piece of garbage in the photo. And I'm like, yeah, I would have made sure, like, I would have been like, hold on, kicked it out of the way and been like, okay, just take the photo. So like, it sucks for true people who are about it. And like, based off of what you guys said, no easy way out. There's a lot of artists out there who want to be artists. And it's unfortunate that in order for you to be in the game, you have to be relevant. You're relevant first, then an artist, instead of artist first, then relevant.
Then relevant.
To be honest with you, I've noticed that's also why there's a lot of talented people that hide their talents because of that said situation of being relevant. Sometimes even some people are afraid to get out there because they're not sure how they're going to be received.
Yeah, because it takes work now. You not only have to create an art, but then you have to validate why you're relevant.
Yeah.
I'm quite certain, Chris, like I took an opportunity to hear your stuff and I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. And it's a shame that artists like yourself or Andrew, whatnot, because of the fact that you guys are a little bit more traditional, you don't get as much reach, and therefore you're not getting as far as you could have if you were able to saturate the digital landscape a lot more aggressively or as consistently but your lifestyles don't allow for it, right? Whether or not it's because of what your upbringing is or your ability to do it. So I guess it was going to segue into my question, like if you could change something in the industry, like what would you do?
I mean, how many times do you guys, I mean, I'll ask a question for everybody here. We're all artists in some respect, right? Lexi's a writer, Rohan, you're a photographer, Chris and I are both artists. How do you feel when you start a project, and are you looking for validation, or are you just looking to get that project finished? Because I know for myself,
Ooh.
it's not about the validation ever.
Yeah.
So I think that's half the problem with guys like me and Chris. We're never looking for that validation in the first place. It was just to get the
Exactly.
art out. So
Because
the
for
problem
me,
for guys, yeah.
like for me, like the reason why I even chose to be a screenwriter / writer, because that's behind the scenes. I want people to see my work visually and like appreciate it. It's not even for validation. So like I'm with you there too, Andrew. Like you got to do it for the artistry and for people to actually have a vision, see your vision and spread the word. It shouldn't even be about validation or popularity, because at that point, why are you doing it? It's not your passion, right? When it's your passion, you want everyone to hear your message, like period.
Yeah, 100%. I think the kids, they got with the Instagram likes, Facebook likes, like they got it kind of backwards now, I think.
Yeah.
And like social media is great and all, but there's a lot of bad about it too. There's a lot of things.
I mean, it's a toxic environment.
Sure.
It's a hella toxic environment because people subsequent their art to likes and a heart emoji when they expect, not seeming to realize. Yeah.
And majority of the time, what I've realized with social media, there's so much talented people and a lot of great art, and it doesn't even get that much likes. But then there's so many likes on foolishness and things that are manipulating people's mindsets, which is like negativity, gossip, all that stuff, stupid, wild videos. And haven't you realized it's mainly about biasism because it's who people think is popular or worth even being checked out? Yeah. Like, and it's sad that there's so many great artists out there on social media and they don't get that much attention because they aren't anyone who's known or has a name or a status. It's kind of, this is a generation of basically status. It's not even genuine.
Well, I'm learning it's relationships. I'm honestly learning throughout my little journey now and through like my social engagement now, it's through your relationships, because the education and the stuff me and Chris are lacking, somebody's got that information. Yeah. And as long as you meet the right person who actually knows those cheat codes, you're in the conversation now, because the door, like you said, the doors are wide open. Every kid now with his phone, because he knows how to be popular with his 5,000 friends, can literally translate that into something. If they don't know what they're doing with it, it'll just be unmonetized and just sit there. But once they actually meet the right person to monetize such actions, then they're making money from it rather than just trying to get likes or points. So I think we've both got a point to realize that me and Chris have spent all our time focusing on our artistry, but then we also had to focusing on getting the right team of people to build that artistry. That's what I've been learning. I learned that throughout even building this little podcast here with this journey of getting you, Rohan, and everybody else together. It takes a team. It takes a village to raise a child. And any project you take on is a child.
100%.
Exactly.
So I guess now that we've got like, the juicies and the mid-crit stuff out of the way, I just want to know, now that everybody's stuck in the house, and everybody has to like look at themselves in the mirror and like have nothing else to do.
I look fresh. I don't.
What's your favorite quarantine activity? Like for me personally, like right now, it's hanging out with my son and watching that little guy literally. Like I have never had this much time with my son, because like I'm about to have surgery for hernia, so like I'm home now and I'm home. So I've never actually been able to like watch him this much and like see his mannerisms and learn all about it. So for me, that's been my personal favorite thing about being in quarantine. Like I don't want to focus on the negative, but I want to know what's everybody's personal favorite thing about being at home, and how do you like, if there is such a thing for you.
I finally got to find myself and enjoy being by myself, enjoying my own presence. Because if you don't enjoy your own presence, who's gonna enjoy yours?
Bars.
So, and I read throughout like the pandemic too. It's interesting. Like I'm just someone of knowledge. I just like to learn things. If I don't learn anything, I get kind of antsy. So that's just me.
Now that's a Sagittarius energy. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ro, how what's your favorite thing about being at the crib?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. No, I'm kidding.
That was so creepy.
Oh, that was perfect. Eyes.
You know me, I'm already a tech head. So like I was one of the fortunate people to cop a PlayStation 5 since day one. So that keeps me company. You know, I have my computer.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, at one point I had an Xbox too. Anyways, so yeah, I have that. I can keep myself amused. Like, you know, we have the podcast that keeps me on a weekly basis. You know, both the filming and the post production and other stuff. I guess I'm fortunate because my industry isn't as restricted as people. It's in the creative realm. So as long as people have a need to make something, I have work to do. It's not as much as I'd like to, because I am missing like, you know, the photo shoots and the weddings and all that sure stuff and special events like the birthday parties. Like this time of year, my phone would be going off. Like, you know, April, I would have like the end of school with the graduations and the concerts and the proms and, you know, setting that up. So like I am missing the ability to share that moment with people, because it's a great time, right? Interacting with people at like a good point of their life, because they just want to be like energy and like, you know, like I'm so happy I graduated, or I'm getting married, or it's my birthday, or blah blah blah, right? So you know, I do long for those days to come back, but you know, I'm doing okay, and I don't want to flaunt, because I know a lot. Like I had this conversation, even Lexi and I've had this conversation earlier this week, that there's a lot of people who are really struggling with this. You know, they've everything from the financial impact and you know, the social economical one, because like it's been a while since the world has slowed down this much for people. And like they can hear the crickets in their life. And I don't want to sound sad about it, but it's just like, you know, we've gotten to a realm where we're easily distracted, right? Like, you know, you go to work and you're like, oh fuck, things suck. You can go walk the street, you can go to a bar, you can, you know, go to a Raptors game or a Leafs game or whatever, and kind of have stuff amuse you. And you kind of be like, it's not that bad. But then when you're just like, I have nothing to do. You know, I've run out of flour to make bread. like
I actually learned that.
Yo, that's a problem in a Jamaican household. You don't know dumpling hafamek.
It really is.
I learned how to cook festival a couple weeks ago. Still,
nice.
Bro, you already know. Yo, I'm telling you right now, Chris has an honorary black card on so many things. Trust me, the man can cook. The man can actually cook jerk chicken. So don't play with it.
No, just him saying festival alone already shows me.
Andrew, we need to get you on the cooking show tip still. Like
I already know. I already know we're in the works of getting
that sometime, man.
Yo, everybody's been telling me I am working on the cooking show. Don't worry, it is coming. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I've been witnessing in this culture, and I want Chris to speak to this, is because for me, our artistry got taken away. Like our ability to be on stage got taken away. But I think what got better for us, like for me, is we got more time to look introspectively. So now you got some real time to create some dope lyrics and some dope concepts and some, like, honestly, it internalized me. Like it allowed me to calm down a little bit more. It allowed me to, like, you know, speak and find some clarity. You know what I mean? Get rid of a lot of that nervous energy I was always carrying around, because I gotta go out. So for me, it's like, my interactions now, because most of them are through stuff like this, has just become regular run-of-the-mill talks now. I don't have that same nervous energy of, like, you know, having to be the, you know, gotta be the hype guy in the room, or gotta maintain that as an artist. Like, how has it been for you, like, getting away from that culture and being able to focus on yourself?
I'd say it's exactly the same as you, man. Like it's been a journey. Like I've had some ups and downs for sure. A lot of low moments where just everything sucks. There's nothing to do, right?
Mm.
But at the same time, you do have a lot of time to sit and get into your own head and be like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do better? What can I improve in my life while I'm in this situation? And if you're looking at it that way, then it's been a good situation. So I definitely I don't think it's been a bad time for this pandemic for me personally.
Me personally too, bro.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that you're being opportunistic, because like I was saying before, a lot of people have been looking at this as a negative, and it is a negative, right? People are dying, people are losing jobs, all that sort of stuff. Like, I'm recovering from flu. So like for a couple of days, I literally thought I had COVID, and it's just like, bro, like when you have something that is that negatively looming over you, it's really hard to function. But it's one of those things where like people are learning a lot, right? Like, I've learned new stuff. I've always been a fan of continuously learning, and like I've learned like stuff about finances, the stock market, new tech. I think my artistry's gotten a little bit better. So I'm glad to hear that everyone's kind of on that tip to say, here's a perfect chance to improve and reconnect or just understand who they are, right?
Because I think COVID kind of forced everybody to look within. I think that's why, because before COVID happened, everybody was around so much different people all the time, and they weren't really taking time to be by themselves. Yeah, it was too much noise. Like they couldn't even face themselves. That's why there were so many suicides and so many people with depression over the time of COVID, because everyone wasn't facing their true self. They couldn't, like, literally you will go through that moment, and that's an ego death, and it forces you to literally just become your authentic self. That's why so much people are having the same story about that. They had spiritual awakenings, or they started to have sobriety like journeys, because everyone had that wake up call. Like COVID kind of snapped it in people even harder, because there's some people who started prior to that. Like as myself, I started prior, but COVID just made things even more blatant in everyone's faces.
Hey,
so
man,
like
I just want everybody to understand that they need themselves a little spiritual den mother like Lexi here to put your soul and everything at ease. Because like honestly, it sounds like a joke, but I'm being real. Like it's been a better place for you to be around when people are in a positive mode. Please, if you're in a dark spot, find somebody who has a positive light so you can absorb some of that. Because it'll allow you just through osmosis to feel a little better when you see somebody doing better. Like I'm not talking about on some jealousy shit, because a lot of people turn it into that unknowingly. But the best thing you can have is somebody with a positive light that brings you energy and brings your spirit up. Like don't snuff that light out. Engage with it. Help it build. Let that fire grow, because it will be contagious and it will help your spirit as well.
Exactly. Mental health is serious. That's been like a real topic, even from the last podcast we had, and we spoke about DMX as well.
Yeah,
how do you feel about DMX though, Chris?
I grew up on DMX, so that would hit home like big time. I know like he's been struggling for years too, so it like wasn't super unexpected, but it definitely hurts to hear when someone you grew up listening to, someone that you idolize, goes in that way, like it's the same. Like it felt just the same as losing one of my friends to the same shit,
Yeah. Do you feel like just hearing about DMX, like it's actually opening up a lot of people's eyes, especially like in the hip hop world too, like just everyone in general?
Yeah, I mean, it got pretty mainstream media credit. I think it like overshined the Prince dying and all that too, which was kind of, I think, fitting, because no one really cares about the British royalty in this country anymore.
No, but I feel like with DMX, since he's like a legend, I feel like that probably opened up a lot of people's eyes to actually
back in the day,
like even like I feel like it's pushing people to actually be their better self, because they're watching their legends dying off by the same situations with drugs and alcohol and depression and all that stuff. And now people are finally opening up their eyes to mental health, because I remember not too long ago, not much people really cared about mental health or even believed in it.
I think it's a correlation.
Hip hop's been kind of negative on mental health from the start. Like it's always kind of pushed drugs and pushed mental abuse and pushed bad stereotypes like that. But I think there's kind of been a whole social awakening in the world the past few years. People are just a lot more attuned to that kind of thing. I don't know what changed really.
I think people have a little bit more time. Like the whole pandemic kind of allowed people to be a little bit more engaged. Some of it to the negative detriment, like the hyper cancel culture and some of the toxicity that happens. But when it comes to serious issues, people are able, because like now you have the time, you can be like, okay, if you're a fan of DMX, for example, or any artist that we've lost or any influential person, you can say, okay, if you know, then it's a loss to you. If you don't know, then you're like, why is everybody upset about DMX? Okay, this is why. Okay, like, you know, he seemed like he was a pretty cool guy, but he succumbed to this, so blah, blah, blah.
It's a teachable moment.
Right, so I think there's that, and also the relatability as well, because when you're like against a royal's over there. Like, there's no way any of us can be considered a royal. Like, even look at Meghan Markle. She married into the family, and she's not even considered a royal. So it's just like, you know, it's irrelevant to us. But any one of us can become famous in some capacity. And then, you know, considering how you were highlighting your, I guess, rediscovery with yourself, Chris, and saying, you know, I've removed myself from those, you know, negative influencers like alcohol and drugs. You've already kind of walked that path and saying, hey, I've seen people, but then now here's a famous person, and both worlds are kind of colliding and saying, you know, they did not escape the maker, regardless of whether or not it was success or on the come up. Their lives were cut short because of something that they thought that was good for them.
Yeah, but I think it really comes down to the fact that X is like one of your best friends, your neighbors, your cousins, we all know somebody who's that emotive.
Relatability.
The real reason, I think the real reason why a lot of people connected to X is because his selfishness. X is the first man that we all witnessed take on the world's pain and carry it with him. He's one of those true, real figures of life that here's a man that truly, truly devoted himself to the craft of being like the best he could be. Even though it was self-destructive and even though it was, you know, harsh on himself, he was the best he could be. Now, the reason why I think people received him more than the Princeton was because here was a person of royal stature who separated himself from the people. Here was one of the people's own dying. So the difference between the two was you could feel the empathy for DMX. People were like, we just lost a royal. Like there's people in Britain who probably feel more tied to the royal family and they have that same, you know, oh my God, yada, yada, yada. But I think the world mourns DMX because it was like watching one of their own family members pass. You can feel that pain. Like he truly was like one of every man, bro. He walked around with everybody's pain. He talked about it. You ever hear DMX speak poetry, bro? Like the stuff he talks about is just so real.
He had a lot of angst in a lot of his music, man. You could tell it was coming from a real place, man.
Yeah. And he was general too, right? Like you see him in his videos and his performances, like aside from the high energy, he didn't really do anything to kind of differentiate himself, because like I was watching like Back in One Piece with him and Aaliyah, the music video, and it didn't age very well, but it was the subject of his time. But one of the things is that you just have DMX chilling. He's just rapping, like, come on, like he's not like sitting here and being like driving around in a fast car. Like none of his videos were him being like, I'm showing off, I'm disconnected. Like it's just like me and my crew, we're doing something, or even like
because he was spinning real stuff that was going on,
right? And even ahead of his time in some of it, like Up in Here, where it was the Mistaken Identity video.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were just like, yeah, this is such a cool song. He's outwitting the cops. And I'm like, yeah, he is outwitting the cops. But at the end of the day, it was the mistaken identity. Like they started chasing him because he was wearing almost the same getup as the guy. No questions asked. And it's just like the whole police force is chasing him down. And he's just like, I didn't do anything. Right? So
it's like,
right. So it's one of those things where it's just like he took his artistry as an opportunity to say, hey, I'm gonna have a good time when I'm doing that. Because like there's some behind the scenes moments when he was filming, like Save the Last Dance, or sorry, I forget the name. Somebody help me out with Jet Li.
Romeo Must Die.
Romeo Must Die.
Must
Yes.
Die.
Romeo
Yeah.
Must Die, where he was just like, you know, he would do random stuff on set and whatnot, and he was just a relatable person. He didn't want to sit here and be like, "Do you know who I am?" Da da da. And even when he was going through his troubles with like his marriage and people squandering for money, and he getting kicked off of like the Rough Rider label and da 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 da, it was just like, yes, he had problems, but he still did what he did every day. So a lot of people give him appreciation for that, right? And he stayed relevant in the industry until then. Like there's a lot of artists that went bankrupt and fell into obscurity. And he's like you probably wouldn't even know.
Bro, X is the only artist that we all see that no matter which stage of his career, we always were rooting for him to get back on top. Because like I said, he was that guy who you were all, like, he was in so much pain all the time that his brief win was like, you felt like you win. When we saw X literally go from like, bro, when we watched him go make the first album all the way to like the last album, that was the Streets anthem, bro. Like every X hit, the Streets literally carried it. It didn't matter what phase you were in your life. You can literally score your life to an X anthem.
Yeah, there was whole summers where it was like straight up X, man. You know what I mean? Like, definitely that guy.
Yeah, man. Rest in peace to a legend. And I mean, on that note, I want everybody to really have their final thought for the day, because I know we're probably much going to run time short on this little crazy podcast of ours. I want Lexi, you to start. Tell me what you think about what's been happening this week and how you feel this is going to like wrap up.
Like with the COVID and the lockdowns?
Yeah, and I mean everything. Like, you mean like, look at how much stuff is happening with like people dealing with this stuff, and not to mention the lockdown. But I mean, how do you think like we're all mentally gonna be after this is all over?
I feel like it's gonna make everybody get back to themselves and be more mature, because I feel like the world just went haywire over the past couple of years, and I feel like it's gonna humble everybody. It should actually humble everybody to a certain extent, because like COVID in general, like even being locked down, like all that stuff forced everybody to just humble themselves, because the world was going wild. It was to the point where God was just like, okay, world, stop. Just like what Beyonce would say, like, it's like world, like the world really did have, no, like for real, the world really did have to stop. Like I was saying this before even COVID happened, and all of a sudden COVID happened. I was like, see, that's exactly what God wanted. Like the world was just going too crazy for a minute. Like everybody just needed to humble themselves, get back to reality, and find themselves. Like, and all this is forcing everybody to do so, whether if it's now or later.
Big Rohan, what's your thoughts on the financial everything? Like what's happening in the tech world? Like what do you think that's going to be happening? Like how does this end? And is it going to end well for us?
I mean, if I knew all those answers, I'd be on a private island somewhere for real. But with that being said, like everything will come out in time. It's just a question of how well, but like people need to stay vigilant. You know, they need to keep their head out. As much as it's encouraged to, you know, take care of yourself. My infamous saying is just like, if you can take care of yourself plus one, then you're going to be doing everyone a service, right? Because if we all can just take care of ourselves plus one, then it'll be manageable, as opposed to people thinking, I need to help everyone. So yeah, it's just that kind of stuff. Like stay true to that, and learn to find yourself, right? Like every day is an opportunity for improvement. So even if it's on a negative standpoint, then we should be able to go through on it. So that should be where we're going on this.
So Chris, I want you to tell me on your final thought what it's like for the artist side of things. Like where do you hope that we end up? Where do you like, where's the you know, the guiding light? What keeps you like going for the next year or so in this retardedness?
I just hope we can get back to some sort of normal soon, where we can travel, where we can interact with fans on a more personal level. like where I can get out and just hit a stage and just unwind, really, man. I really hope it opens back up soon. I hope the entertainment and like the live entertainment industry isn't just completely ruined. I know there's a lot of venues have shut down, so I really hope something comes in to fill that void.
It'll come back. It's supply and demand right now. Like, unfortunately, these buildings, they became victim to it. Like, as much as they'd love to see you or Andrew or any other performer be on stage, it's not like the ticket sales pay you guys. So it's usually like the alcohol and the licensing and this and that, and just at the indie level. But think about the bigger artists like the Drakes and stuff like that, where it's just like hotels, restaurants, Uber, all that sort of stuff. So it will all recover once we're able to interact maybe in a different way, maybe in a better way, because like venues might get a new coat of paint. They might become a little bit more technically sound. They might be able to do more, right? Like, I think if anything, if you're a venue or you think that you're going to return back to the industry once everything's good, future-proof yourself. So if you can make your soundstage be able to broadcast beyond like just people there in real time, then you should make it. Like, you should have like recording pods and streaming and broadband, so you can offer that where it's just like, see you guys live, or be able to see it on social, your YouTube, your personal media channels. And that way it gives you more growth and span to kind of be like, hey, I can touch my artist regardless of whether or not they can come see me there, right? So innovation is definitely going to be the segue. Hey, you know what? Like, that's what's happening in the auto industry, right? Like, they're taking advantage of this time to implement EVs, and everyone's just like, well, yeah, you know what? The environment is important. If we didn't have COVID, everyone would be like, yeah, I'm okay with driving my fuel combustion engine. That's fine. We got tons of oil. Like, I heard the Americans have 100 years of reserve left. We'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm gonna focus on basically, like, for everybody else, we've all explored to death the bad shit that's been happening. Let's get rid of that energy now. Like, it's about like getting to some happy place in your life where you can get to that next step. I mean, everything right now is closed, and I get it. It's all shut down, and we all got that down the hatchets and live with what we got. So the smart man and then the smart money says that if you put into yourself, you'll be able to reap that crops later. It's like farming. You ain't gonna have nothing to eat if you don't till that soil, put in that work in, and water them seeds, bro. So I think this is the time for you to start tilling your own soil.
That's the cycle. That's the cycle of life, literally. Like, all there is to life is good in the end of the stick. Even if things are bad, eventually it's going to turn good, because everything's a cycle.
You can't build something great without breaking everything else down first.
Exactly. That's why there's always tower moments, and then you rebuild, just like in tarot, the Fool card. You start over. You start fresh.
All right. And I think that is the end of our little show, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lord_905 on all socials. Your boy, Mr.
Remarkable. Yeah, Mr. Remarkable, Rohan on it. And we got Luxy Samuel. Say what's good.
Hey.
And we like to thank Chris for joining us. Don't worry, I got you, Chris. I got you. So let people know where to find you, fam.
Fam. Tell them where the music is. Give them all them platforms. Tell them where the latest single is.
All social media.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I'm pretty easy, man. Most of my social media is at Drink with Chris. My webpage is drinkswithchris.com. So yeah, hit me up. You can find all my music on again at Drinks with Chris social media. So yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, details will be in the description. We got you. We're always looking for opportunities to talk to local artists or anybody of any influence. So by all means, like, everyone's welcome to join our show. But until the next episode, we want everybody to like, subscribe, share. Definitely stay safe. Take care of each other, and catch up for the next episode of the Double S Club. Yo.
All right, take it easy.